that joined us for this virtual session. We'll also be recording it and posting it later in case you want to follow up or have any questions. Some logistics. So our goal is to keep this to about 20 minutes. We do have a little presentation. If you have specific questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. So that's just right at the bottom of the screen. We'll do our best to make sure that we answer all the questions that you guys have. And I think that's really it. I guess by way of introduction, I found these types of sessions really helpful when my kids were a little bit younger and I was working through potty training them, and thought it would be nice to share some of our experience with you guys on things like potty training. I think we have a few other versions of this from back in the day around like healthy eating and other different things, but we just want to share some of our knowledge around topics that seem top of mind for families. And so, if there's other things that you want to learn about, just let us know, and we're always happy to put together a little webinar. And with that said, I'm going to share my screen, and I am actually going to pass it off to Miss Imani, our director, for her to take us through this session.
All right, perfect. So good morning, everyone. My name is Imani. I am the director here at Kiddie Academy, for those who do not know me. And I have been working in early childhood for the past 10 years. And I just recently finished potty training my final child. So I definitely understand some of the, struggles that it takes to go through the potty training process. So I'm definitely here to answer any questions and offer any suggestions for what worked for us. And so, we're just basically here to provide guidance around questions that we hear from families every day. And, we're like a community here. So we just want everyone to be able to share their ideas and, feel like any type of questions that they have, they can ask us, and we will definitely be able to help you out. So just remember, it's a process. So when you're starting the potty training process, just remain calm, take a deep breath. It's not a never-ending journey. So your child will become potty trained. And you also know your child, so you know how far they can be pushed and what their limits are. So just, make sure there are different options and different strategies, so you know which one will be best for your child. So we're just going to give you a couple of examples that you can pull from.
Yeah, and I always laugh because people always saying it's true. Like when you're in the midst of it, it can feel never ending, but everybody gets potty trained eventually. So like, know that you're in good company and that it will get done.
So for timing, age and readiness, generally, children are ready to potty train physically, between the ages of 18 months and 3 years old. Now, this is not going to be, every 18-month-old is not going to be ready. And then also every child does not have to wait until they're 3. This is just kind of like a general range. But you should know that every child will embrace potty training on their own timetable. There's no right age or deadline, but it's very important to just watch your child and see when they're ready. And then make sure that the experience is a positive one. You don't want to cause so much stress for yourselves or your child. You want this to be a positive and rewarding experience. And some of the signs that they're ready could be that they're interested in the potty. So they may follow you or older siblings into the bathroom and just, are showing that they're interested. They may be pulling their clothes up and down, dry diapers for long periods of time. When they're wet or they've gone to the bathroom, they want to be changed. They'll come up to you and let you know that they're ready to be changed. And then they can also kind of sense when they need to use. So you might notice that they know when they're about to go in their diaper. And also another sign that I've seen very often is when your child goes to hide in a corner to use the bathroom in their diapers. Usually that's a sign that they are ready to go to the potty.
Miss Imani, So I do have a quick question. We have one queued up that I'll ask a little bit later because I think it's relevant towards the end. Well, actually, no, I think in terms of readiness. So the individual asked, my 2-year, 4-month-old granddaughter started with potty training over Labor Day weekend and was doing really good. And then suddenly she refused to even sit on the potty. Like any suggestion, she said the typical rewards aren't really working. Is this something you've seen before?
Yes, definitely. And sometimes when children are home, they'll start the potty training process, but then once they get to school, it's just a little bit more overwhelming for them. And so I think in that instance, maybe setting up a timer or setting up, maybe putting them on the potty every hour or something like that, just to get that consistency for them, whether they go or not. That'll still build up that consistency of them knowing, okay, every hour I'm gonna go sit on the potty, and then eventually they'll start using it. We don't want to have any type of negative reaction to them not going, even if they've gone before. We just want to continue with the consistency and continue to support them.
And so what if they like literally won't sit on the potty and they fight it? Is that a point where you like pull back and reset, or do you continue to look for rewards? Like, I guess, what do you recommend there?
Definitely, you don't want them to be scared. So maybe you do have to reset. Maybe start with the books, start with talking about the potty, talking about why we use the potty, talking about, once they're potty trained, they're coming out of the diapers, and just kind of encouraging them to want to use the potty. So we have to get them to want to use it. And if they're scared, it's not something that they're going to want to do.
So maybe it's sometimes it's try the other rewards and then sometimes maybe take a little bit of a break.
Right.
Excellent. Great.
Okay, setting the stage. So in the beginning, you can just simply start by reading books, sitting in the bathroom, reading stories, and this goes into getting them comfortable and familiar with the toilet. So we don't want them to start out being scared. So we just want to, introduce the toilet, introduce to them why they need to use it, read some stories. There are a lot of great stories out there for potty training. And this way, when it's time to actually sit on the potty, they're comfortable and familiar with it. And so some of those tips can be having a conversation, leading with, you're such a big boy, I think you might be ready to use the potty. And just making sure you're having these conversations with your child versus just saying, you're done with diapers, now you're using the potty. Like, include them in these conversations so that they know that this is something that they want to do as well.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say I have 2 little boys, and so my oldest was much more compliant. And so if you asked him to sit on the potty, he would just sit on the potty and like look at a book. Whereas my youngest was a little more headstrong, and it was really difficult to get him to sit on the potty. Like I think because one time I put him on the potty and his foot went in the potty, and so he was like grossed out by that for a really long time. So we don't really do a lot of screen time at home, but I like actually let him watch little train videos on my phone while he sat on the potty. We eventually gave him like M&Ms, like the little teeny M&Ms, because like we just really wanted to like get him to a happy place on there. So yeah, I think every child, like, it's very different. And we actually have 2 questions. So one of them, my son won't poop in the potty. He has no problem with peeing, but refuses to poop. They've tried rewards, reading, everything. Any recommendations for that?
So honestly, with the pooping, that comes with time. Usually, it's easier to get them trained to urine in the potty, and then the pooping sometimes takes a little bit longer. And again, time, but also encouragement. You may see a pattern when they poop. For example, if it's, after they eat or right before bed or once they wake up. And again, just encouraging them to go at that time and, asking them, does your belly hurt? A lot of the times my son, when I would say, does your belly hurt? He says, yes. I would put him on the potty and he would poop. So just kind of learning their little cues and just encouraging them to go. They are going to go sometimes in their underwear. And, when I know it's gross, but like just kind of encourage them once they go to, say, you're such a big boy, you're such a big girl. How about next time we try to poop in the pot?
Yeah, I remember with my son Chase, like literally I knew his schedule, like you said. I knew he kind of pooped like around 10 in the morning. And so I would like almost follow him around the house and like wait for a signal and like run him upstairs real quick. And then when he went in the potty, we like made a huge deal about it. Because and then threw away the underpants if he had a mess. I'm not cleaning that. We had one other question. If we ask them, do you want to go potty? And they say no, is it still necessary to take them every hour? My 2.5-year-old son is not potty trained yet, but some days he can tell when he wants to go to the bathroom.
So sometimes it's hard when we ask them because a lot of times they'll say no. And then we don't want to make them feel like if they say no, we're still going to do the opposite. So if you ask them and they say no, maybe don't put them right away. Maybe wait a couple of minutes, 10, 15 minutes, and then put them again or go and put them on the potty. Because we just don't want them to feel like we're asking them a question and regardless of their answer, we're still going to do what it is that we want them to do. We want them to feel empowered.
So maybe it's more, if you're like, I think maybe part of the question is like, if you're deciding to do the potty training, and I think we have a page later on the 3 different types, and this one sounds more like kind of the child led.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think maybe we can cover more of that actually when we get to that.
Right. Right. No, definitely.
Perfect.
And so some other things, just making sure that the bathroom is a fun place for them. They're not dreading going into the bathroom. If you have a special toy near the potty, make it fun. You can add pictures, balloons, and also be open about you using the potty. So this is, they need to know that this is a stage in life that everyone will go through. And so they're using the potty, but also older siblings, mommy, daddy, grandma, grandpa still uses the potty as well. And so just including yourselves as well. And just keep in mind that what works best for your child may not necessarily what may work best for someone else's child may not work best for yours. So just knowing that this process is unique to each child. And so a lot of questions that we get are whether or not parents should buy pull-ups or if they should just go straight to underwear. And this is a personal choice. I know with pull-ups, it's very similar to buying diapers. Sometimes families are just like, I just want to be out of diapers. I don't want to buy anything anymore. And so again, that's just, it's up to you personally. Some parents just go straight to the underwear. And then just buy a bunch of underwear, a bunch of clothes. They may send them into daycare, with the change of clothes and the change of underwear, while others may transition to the pull-ups, which are similar to underwear, but then they also have the diaper component. So if they have an accident, you can just take the pull-up off and toss it out. Both ways can be very successful, and just making sure whichever one you choose, you kind of stick to. You don't want to flip-flop. If you're going to do just underwear, you don't necessarily want to occasionally do pull-ups. And then going back and forth between the diapers and the pull-ups, it sometimes is very confusing. So if you're going to do pull-ups, stick to pull-ups. But just whichever you decide, whichever you feel works for your family is the one that is going to work best for you.
And actually, sorry, you might answer on the next one. Someone had a question, but I think you're gonna answer on the next one.
And so there are so many different types of potties that you can choose. There's the easy on and off. This is the one that typically will sit on your floor. And you usually will kind of just take the bucket out and dump it once they've gone. Then they have the toilet cover, which is easier to clean and it'll just sit right on the toilet. You can take it on and off when your child needs to go. They also have travel potty covers. These are great for when you're out on vacation, you go to restaurants, you can just put it on top of an adult-sized toilet. And then they also have travel potties, which is good for if you're in a situation where there may not be a bathroom, or you might find like a porta potty that you're just not going to use. And it folds small and you can just clean it once you're done. And again, these are all a matter of preference. I've seen these work for everyone. I've seen, maybe if you have a smaller bathroom and you just don't have the space to have a separate toilet, you may want to use the covers. And then also in terms of traveling, it's great to have so that you're not stressing out when you know you're not going to be home all day, that you still have an option for them to be able to use the potty. Because what you don't want to do is have them on their consistent schedule, and then maybe you go out and you're scared that there'll be accidents because there may not be access to a toilet, and then you put them back in the pull-ups or the diapers.
Yeah, and I'd say there's one, just from my personal experience, we love this toilet cover with the handles when they were first learning, just because like it gave them some stability on the potty. And then once they were a little bit older, we actually, and I should have put a picture on here, there's a little tiny toilet seat attachment that you can add that actually like makes almost like it's underneath the toilet seat cover. It looks kind of like the travel potty, but it's actually attached to your toilet. So it's like super easy. Like we have a small bathroom, so it's nice because everybody can use the same potty, but there's a small one, so no little kids fall in the toilet.
And what's great about these, the first two, is they also have the shield for the little boys, so that the pee is not going everywhere.
And we have two questions. So the first one is, if we start with underwear, can we keep them in a diaper at night, or should we do an underwear even at night?
No, I mean, I think for nap time and for overnight, you can do a pull-up. And just be very clear with your child that that's just for when they're sleeping, because it'll usually take a little bit longer for them to be sleep trained.
Yeah, we kept our sons in the pull-ups for like the nighttime diapers for quite a while, just because like physically they're not always ready right away to hold it all night. And honestly, like I just want to get them potty trained during the day.
And you also don't want them to start their day out upset. A lot of times if a child is wet when they wake up, that maybe is not the best start to their day. So we just want to kind of just make sure that we're setting them up for success.
Sorry, I have a sick child with me at home today, and so he just demanded some goldfish. So he knew I was busy, so he got some. We had one other question. Our son seems to have no issues with his diaper being very wet. Does that mean he's not ready? He's showing other signs, but they're having a hard time getting him to go once he sits on the potty.
So it may just be that his diaper isn't completely full, which is maybe why he's not as uncomfortable. And also they've been in a diaper for their whole life. So for them, being in a diaper is kind of normal. I mean, if he's showing other signs, then by all means you can start the conversation with him to see which method will work best for you guys.
So would you suggest in that case, maybe having a conversation with the teacher to understand like if they're really ready, and then kind of moving forward with like just the underwears?
I think that maybe, so is this child in a pull-up or are they in diapers?
I'm just looking to see. I don't think it was in there. I guess, hold on. It sounds like they said diaper specifically.
Diaper.
So
okay, so I mean, the first step could just be maybe then going into the pull-up. And the pull-ups are a little bit thinner, so they may feel more of the uncomfortableness in a pull-up. But also with the pull-ups now.
Oh, sorry, in a pull-up.
In a pull-up, okay, in a pull-up. So yeah, I mean, are they typically dry though?
It said that, I don't know actually. So I guess if they're typically dry, what do you recommend? And if they're wet, what do you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, if they're typically dry, then you can go straight for the underwear. Go straight for the underwear, and just let them just continue putting them on the potty, because when they're wet in the diaper, it's not as uncomfortable as when they're wet in the underwear. Once they start wetting their underwear is when it'll kind of click, like, I don't like this feeling because the underwear don't have the, they don't have the same makeup as a pull-up. So his clothes will get wet, and it's just not going to be a comfortable feeling, and it'll be something that will push him to want to start going into the potty.
Perfect. And then the other question is, do you think we should ask our child's teacher what they think regarding child readiness?
Definitely, because if your child is an only child and at home there aren't any other children going back and forth to the bathroom, you might not see that they're showing interest. But if in the classroom they're noticing a lot of their friends are going, they may be showing more interest in the classroom. So I definitely think having a conversation with their teacher is best. And then also you guys can get on the same page. So if there are things you're trying at home that they necessarily don't know about, you can let them know, and they can do those things in class as well, and vice versa. Sometimes in the classroom, if all the children are showing that they want to, the teacher may set up some type of a chart, and your child might be, asking to go to the bathroom at school. And so these are just things that we always want to keep those communication lines open, so that we can make sure that they are having the same things done at home and at school.
Yeah, and I would just add, I feel like just from my observations of the different classrooms, it really feels like once they get to the caterpillars, which is around like 2.5. So we've definitely had children like try starting a little bit earlier, and I feel like it's been not as successful. But I feel like once they get to the caterpillars, the 2.5-year-old class is when they really start like having a lot of success in there. So.
So there are many, many different approaches, but these are the 3 that we've seen most, and the 3 that we have had experience with, whether with our own children or here at the center. And the first method is child-oriented training. It's developed by Dr. Brazelton, and it focuses on your child's readiness. And so it's child-centered. So the family is waiting until the child naturally begins to use the potty. This method is less stressful and demanding, but it does tend to take a lot longer. So if you are in a situation where there's a timeline, I would say, for your child to be potty trained, this might not necessarily be the best method, but it definitely helps empower your child and focuses on their independence. The second is parent-oriented training. And so caregivers usually will set a daily schedule of bathroom visits, whether it be every hour, every 45 minutes, every 30 minutes, and they stick with that until the child begins to recognize the urge to go. And so consistency across all caregivers is key. And so if this is something that you're starting at home, if you're putting your child on the potty every hour, every 45 minutes, definitely let your child's teacher know, so that we can also set some type of a timer to make sure that we're putting your child on the potty as well. And the family doesn't need to block out specific times like the 3-day weekend method, but it does take a little bit longer as well, just because you are beginning with putting them on the potty, then they may not necessarily be going, but you're just starting that consistency, and then eventually they will recognize that, every time that they're put on the potty that they need to go. And then last is the 3-day or weekend training. And this one is the most popular, and it's the quickest. And so families focus for several days only on potty training. And so this works if you're able to take these days and just stay home. It doesn't necessarily work if you have to leave the house, because you're having the child dressed in only their underwear, or they can just be completely naked. They're at home. And so when they feel that it's time to go to the bathroom, they'll go to the bathroom. And this is a quicker method, but just remember, you have to kind of put everything on hold for those days in order to do this method. So for all 3 of these methods are great methods. And whatever works best for your family is the one that you should stick to.
Yeah, and the question is, one person, I think you just answered it. Is it necessary to strictly stick to one potty training approach only?
No, you can do a mixture. I mean, sometimes there are families who may start one and then realize that it's not necessarily working for their child. And they could do a mixture of all 3 of them. I know with my youngest, I attempted the 3-day training with him. And it kind of worked, but again, we weren't able to dedicate the full 3 days to staying in the house. And so then we moved over to the parent-oriented training. And so yeah, mixture could work as well. And so some other common questions, usually around potty training, are rewards and incentives. And again, this is whatever works best for your child. If you know that your child will respond to this, then by all means, you should try it. Give them a small reward for them trying or getting it right. It won't hurt the process. And it's also often combined with other methods. A treasure box of small gifts, things bought at the dollar store, doesn't have to be anything super expensive, can be helpful. And then at school, if this is the method you're using at home, we can carry it out in school using the sticker chart. So if the child uses the potty or goes to sit on the potty, there's often a sticker chart where the teacher will then give them a sticker and then they can place it next to their name.
Yeah, I think each child's gonna be different. My first, again, he didn't really care for like the rewards and stuff, like he was just fine. My second one was really tough, and so we ended up giving him like M&Ms, I think. Like I was just anything to get him to use the potty. So that's what we did. I know other people do the presents. I didn't do stickers at home. That didn't seem to resonate for my kids, but I'm all aboard with the rewards and incentives.
Definitely. For nighttime training, nighttime training again will take longer, and that's developmentally appropriate. Don't be concerned if they are day trained but not night trained. It will come. Lots of children are heavy sleepers and don't feel the urge to wake up yet. So just give it more time. And there's also some things that I've seen or that I've done is if you want, you can wake your child up in the middle of the night. Making sure they use the potty right before bed. And then if you want to wake them up in the middle of the night and have them go, that works as well. But it's not necessary. They will become night trained.
Yeah, I'll say for my youngest son in this instance, so he's the one who's like a little more resistant. Even today, if you tell him, hey, go to the bathroom, he sometimes like just doesn't want to go. And so when he does that, I just, say, okay, put him to bed. And before I go to sleep, I just gently kind of bring him to the bathroom and have him go potty, because I'm not going to like get into an argument about using the potty. So.
Right. And so potty training with childcare providers, I feel like this is usually the biggest question when it comes to potty training. And so do schools charge extra for children that are not potty trained? Some may. Kiddie Academy does not. However, our threes classrooms do not have changing tables. Therefore, we do require a child to be potty trained prior to moving up to that 3-year-old classroom. But again, when you start the process, we are here to work with you and to work with your child to make sure that they are potty trained by that time. And the good thing is that your child is not going at it alone. Most of their friends in the classroom will be going through the same thing.
My favorite is when you like go into the class and they're like kids on the 2 potties, like having a conversation. I feel like we joke that some of the kids potty train their friends in class because they just like out chat, go bathroom and go back, wash their hands and go back and play. So
yeah, and you may even notice like some of the children who are very resistant, they'll give into peer pressure. If their friends are going to the potty, they'll go to the potty too. And so sometimes you can just lean into that and encourage them with, letting them know your friends are doing it as well. This is one of those instances where the peer pressure is okay. How do I effectively partner with my child's teacher to reinforce potty training at home/school? Communication. Just keep those lines of communication open. And that's going to be the best way. One thing that I often will hear about is that there are children who are very resistant. And again, you don't want to make this such a negative process, but if you have a child who is maybe at the older stage, closer to 3, and that you're just like, I don't know what it is, I just can't get them potty trained, there are a couple of things that I've seen work for them. One of them is go shopping with your child for their underwear. Let them pick it out. Let them feel like this is something that I'm included in and I'm able to choose the underwear that I'm going to use. eliminate the diapers except at night. This, you may have more accidents, but again, this just kind of shows them this is where we're at and this is the process and we're going to get through it together. Use a timer and follow through with it. If you decide every hour my child is going to go on the potty, set up a timer. And so they'll know when that timer goes off, it's time for them to go. And in the beginning, you may be finding yourself putting them on the potty, but eventually when they hear that timer go off, they'll go on their own. Remain calm through the process. You will get through it. It is something that we've all done and we all will get through, and just celebrate those accomplishments. This is a major time in their life, and when they become potty trained, it's great for them. And so we just have to celebrate that accomplishment. Excuse me. Be sure to practice patience, understanding, and keep your sense of humor. Remind yourself that your child will eventually get out of diapers. It just takes time. I think you're on mute, Leah.
There we go. I've never done one of these webinars. No, thank you. I think you answered all the questions that everybody had. We'll just leave it open for another couple minutes to see if anybody has any other questions. But you guys should always feel free to reach out to us. The teachers always get really excited. I'll say I love when we up front on the admin team know that a child's potty training. Every time they walk by, we make a big deal about it, which is like a lot of fun. So they get at our program, they get a lot of positive reinforcement for their behaviors. So we're excited. We love getting children potty trained. They're so proud of themselves at the end of it. And so like, I'm smiling because it's a really fun experience. So thank you all for joining. Again, we'll stay on for another minute or so if people have questions, but otherwise, let us know if you have other sessions you'd like to have or any other questions. We're here to be a resource for everybody. And Miss Amani, I'm so glad that I'm done potty training.
Me too.
It's hard. It's a lot of work. Perfect. I'll just give it another minute.
Okay.
And I've seen the potty training chart in the caterpillars, which is a lot of fun.
They love it. They love being able to put their own sticker on.
Yes. Okay, well, it looks like we have no other questions. So I will, I guess, close out the session and we will, again, we're always available. We're a resource. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.